Good morning, everyone, in India, in Austria, in Malta, in Germany. Welcome to the pre-conference workshop called Cybercrime in the Field of Game Studies on the 6th International Conference on Cybersecurity and Privacy in Communication, organized by the Indian Institute of Technology in Patna. We had this idea of taking the opportunity and discuss the topic of game crime in the broader sense today. And we offer this workshop open access, and we are also recording the workshop, and we will put it online on the YouTube channel of Applied Games from the Center of Applied Game Studies. But don't worry, there should only be the slides and the speaker in the video. So I hope that in regards to privacy, everything is fine and you can join the sessions relaxed. We will have a presentation after presentation. I encourage you to use the chat if you have any questions, if you like to discuss with the audience or with the speakers, especially after the talk, so everyone stays here in the conference, and we can answer all your questions. But if you would like to discuss with us in person, we decided that instead of Q&A sessions in person directly after the talks, we have at 1 p.m. Austrian time, GMT +1, we have a panel discussion. So basically we stay all together and try to recap the day, and you can ask us anything you like to ask us, especially on the topic. Together with me, my name is Alexander Pfeiffer. I have my last 5 days at MIT, and then I will join Danube University again. And my colleagues organizing this conference are Thomas-Gabriel Rüdiger, a cybercriminologist from Germany, Alexiei Dingli, a professor of artificial intelligence at the University of Malta, and Natalie Denk from Danube University. I will start with the first talk of today, and I will just reset my timer. And my talk is on the topic of how to secure digital game items using blockchain technologies. So blockchain, we have now another huge hype in regards to speculation and blockchain. Bitcoin reached a new all-time height. Also some other systems are performing well, not only in regards to price, but also in regards to adoption and apps that are built using blockchain to secure certain aspects of the apps. And in the case that I present today, we will use, or I try to show you how you can use blockchain technologies to secure game items. So why do you usually use blockchain? You like to enable trust between different partners. You like to get rid of the middleman. You like to ensure full transparency while also enable privacy, which means that if you use a public blockchain, the transactions are viewable on the blockchain, while you can, of course, keep private data private and encrypt the private information. Then you can enable smart contracts, and smart contracts lead to automation of processes. And at the end, it means ownership. So basically, you have ownership of the data, you have ownership of the digital items that you possess. And a small teaser at the beginning. This was, of course, just a joke from a irony website, but they said Niantic pulls plug on Pokemon after 4 years. So everyone was shocked, of course, and it was not true. It was fake news. But imagine that you have been collecting Pokemons on Pokemon Go the last years, and then they shut off the servers. And then basically all your Pokemons, all your digital items, all the things you maybe even bought for real money is gone. And then they make a Pokemon Go 2, but the server has been deleted and you have to start from the very beginning. So if the Pokemons would be secured on blockchain, you would still have ownership of your digital items, because the database registry is a blockchain-based database registry, and you can build any other game, even a community-driven game, based on this. So the valuable data is not centralized stored on the servers of the game provider. It's basically you who have the ownership of the data. So that's the small detail and the reason why I do this presentation the next 20-25 minutes. So what is blockchain? Blockchain is part of DLDs, distributed ledger technologies, but it's only a subcategory of the DLD because there is a difference why you cannot generally mix up DLD and blockchain, which is something people often do. So with blockchain, the transactions are grouped in blocks, and the blocks are cryptographically connected with each other. Grouped in blocks means that after a certain period of time, after a certain amount of data has been reached, after a certain amount of transactions that have been reached, the transaction in that particular time frame, for example, they are all bundled together, and then they're hashed. They have a unique hash attached, and then they are stored on all the nodes on all the computers in the decentralized network. A hash function is an image that maps a large input quantity to a smaller target quantity, the hash values at the end. This means you have a certain set of data, and a certain set of data should create a unique hash. So here's a very simple example. We started a new blockchain with block 1, which is the so-called Genesis block, which has, of course, no starting hash, but the information in the first block generates a unique hash. And to ensure that this hash is really unique, you salt the data, which means you put, for example, a random number to it, or you use other information like a timestamp so that the data is truly unique, the hash is truly unique. With the hash of in our case, the Genesis block, the first block, the second block is started, all the data, all the salt you put into it, the randomness generates a new hash with the information, including the previous hash and the data. And then with that hash, the next block is generated. So you have this possibility, and this is the awesome thing about blockchain, to see that all data is in sync, that no data has been manipulated, and that the data you're looking into is really part of the information chain of the chain of trust. Blockchains can be public, consortium-based, or private, and they can be permission or permissionless. Public is the purest sense of blockchain, or of those who started the blockchain movement. So all information is available public, all nodes are available public, and it's permissionless, so everyone can run a node and can start blockchain transactions. Consortium-based means that a group of companies or a group of people are running a private blockchain, but so they run the chain of trust on their own. Imagine all branches of Starbucks in the world are running a consortium-based blockchain with the goal that their voucher system is in sync, and that you can buy a voucher in Austria and redeem it in Brazil. But of course, you can combine those blockchain systems. So you can say, okay, every 15 minutes, we send a hash of the data value of our consortium-based blockchain to a public blockchain. And with that, we want to ensure that that no one can manipulate data that is older than 15 minutes on our consortium-based blockchain. And then, of course, we have a lot of different types of tokens, and there is no common sense and common wording, but we need this short explanation here to understand a little bit better of what I'm talking about, especially in regards to games and gamification. So we have cryptocurrencies. They are mainly used for payment reasons, but of course you can add also information to the payment. This is how the whole idea of using blockchain to secure items of apps started. But in the purest sense, Bitcoin and Litecoin are cryptocurrencies, so they are either here with the reason to store value or to be used as an actual currency. Then we have tradable network maintenance utility tokens, how at least I used to call them. This would be, for example, Ethereum or other. So on the one hand, they are used as store of value or to purchase something and to convert them to fiat money. But on the other hand, you need them to create other tokens on the network and to pay for the transaction fees. And those other tokens that you create on the networks, they are usually utility tokens. Utility tokens are tokens that have a particular purpose. They are a voucher, they are a ticket. They are simply there to secure a data set. And here I distinguish between the tradable utility tokens, tradable here either fully tradable even on the exchanges versus fiat money, or tradable to other kind of tokens, or tradable and redeemable, as we speak in a minute, for example, directly with the game company. And then we have non-tradable utility tokens. And here the issue of the tokens, make sure with approval models that they are only meant as a storage of information. So for example, my MIT project, I also have a slide on this later, but it's about storing grades or certificates directly from game-based learning or e-learning. And here we store the information on blockchain, but of course we do not want those tokens to be traded, to be manipulated, to be even sent to other addresses. And in regards to tokens and blockchain, and then of course, especially non-tradable utility tokens, you have to understand the concept of a wallet. So a wallet means that it could either be a wallet on your, so that you run a full node yourself, you run a full copy of one particular blockchain and a node. So you have a database of several gigabytes on your computer, or you run a wallet where you just use the resources of a wallet provider to look into your blockchain addresses. And here we have, for example, one of such wallets. It's the Exodus wallet. And this is capable of holding the information or giving you access to the information using your keys, or providing keys for you of different blockchain networks. And when we speak about utility tokens, it's quite important, because the idea is that you have a wallet which is capable to process multiple blockchain systems, and therefore utility tokens from different blockchain systems. So it's not a tunnel system just for one particular blockchain, but to make it happen that we have utility tokens securing game items, for example, we need all the applications that we create to be multi-chain capable. So now let's move forward to use cases in regards to blockchain and games. And let's start with collectibles or digital collections. And when it comes to collecting, there's of course still this discussion if collecting itself is a game or if it's just a game mechanic. So if it is a game, it's on you. Some people say yes, collecting itself is already a game. Others say no, collecting is something you do, but it's not a game. But what we can agree on is that collecting as a game mechanic is maybe one of the most game mechanics that we encounter in our today's games. And in regards to digital collections, there is this classic blockchain game or blockchain application. It's called CryptoKitties. It was maybe not the first one of its kind, but the most successful, and it's still in operation. You can still, if you like to say, play it, and you can still play it. And the main idea is that on blockchain, unique cats are generated. They have their own DNA. Every cat looks a bit different, and every cat has a different kind of story and different abilities, so to say, and you can trade the CryptoKitties. Some of them are worth several €100,000. Others are more or less worthless, maybe even less than the transaction fees. And you have to bring two kitties together, breed them, and so you generate a new unique kitty. And this was quite a game changer for the non-fungible tokens, for the idea that you create singleton tokens, unique tokens that represent a unique data set, in this case, the CryptoKitties. And of course, we have more games of this kind. We have Tarasca built on the Ignis blockchain in Ador. Basically, artists had this idea of creating a card set with unique graphics, unique paintings. So you're not only collecting the digital painting, you're also have the capability of play with these paintings. And another game is called Cryptic Legends. It's built on the Ethereum blockchain. And here you have this idea of collecting cards, but then you can you can create a set of cards, and then it's kind of a hero manager. So you play against another competitor with his set of cards and look who wins. It's like a soccer manager, but with heroes. And each card is again unique on the blockchain, and also the games or the game results are then recorded on blockchain. But we see that this is not only something independent companies do. We have Panini, one of the biggest company when it comes to collective items, and they started recently their initiative to also secure the trading cards on blockchain. So in 15 years or 20 years, when you try to sell your card, you can prove that this is an original, that this card is secured on blockchain, and it's not just a nice copy. So you see here that you can either use it to create unique online items and trade them, or also to use blockchain to secure real items and prove ownership and prove that this is an original piece. The second chapter is about in-game items and in-game currencies or loot boxes. And for those of you who play computer games, you know that in most of the online role-playing games, the items have different color sets. So gray items are basically worthless. Green items have some kind of magic, for example, attached to it. And then we have legendary items and epic items. And when it comes to cybercrime, we know that when people try to hack your account, and when they do so and they finally succeeded and hacked your account, they try to sell the not soul-bound epic and legendary items to generate gold, to send the gold to another account, to sell the gold for money. And at least if it was the first time your account has been hacked, the game provider tries its very best to just generate new items as a database entry. And so you as the player get your items back and you can continue playing. And if those items would be secured on blockchain, it would be much harder for the hackers to hack. And on the other hand, you as the player would have more ownership on the items, of course. But this is a big decision in regards to the game providers, if they care about their virtual items as unique items and assets, or if they say it's just a game, our items should not be traded on external exchanges. This is something that happened, this black economy, but we do not support any off-game trades. And then I guess they will not opt in for blockchain. And then there is another quite new trend and quite successful trend. And this means that you can actually try and earn cryptocurrencies while playing games. And also the game results are again secured in a separate blockchain-based database. So here's the game Light Night, and you shoot on another player, and as a reward, you do not only get points, you receive Satoshis. Satoshis are the smallest amount of Bitcoin, like 0.00001 is still worth something, of course, but this is a new idea of esports, that your result, when you're a good player, directly leads to the payment in the form of cryptocurrencies. And then some years ago, you see here in September 17, so when we say now the new next circle of blockchain adoption and hype and speculation started, this September to December 17 was the last huge hype cycle. And there's a game, it's also still on Steam, but you can only play it when you have the tokens, and you can no longer receive the tokens, as they're off market. But this idea was that the whole in-game economy, when you like to purchase game items, this is all based on blockchain-based tokens. But maybe the huge mistake that this game company made, and that is why it's such a great example, the game token, which was called Nexium, was not only available from the game company, it was also available on the free market on cryptocurrency exchanges. So it was kind of a game in the game. The token was a mean of speculation, and on a good day, the laser gun for your ship was quite cheap, and on a bad day, the laser gun for your ship was super expensive. And nowadays, if you look for Nexium, all those exchanges have taken the blockchain-based token offline. Maybe even the blockchain system itself, if it was a private network, is no longer there. So this is a really good example to learn how you should not do it. And we know this because someone has already tried it, and we saw that such tradable tokens with quite low trading volume might or will result to a fail like this. So where can we use blockchain-based tokens here? There are many possibilities. So they can be the game token in the game, like the jewels in Clash of Clans, if Clash of Clans would opt in. And if you make it not available on the free market to trade, you can trade it with a fixed price the issuing company has set it. So therefore, the game company is the regulator, and those are their tokens. But blockchain-based tokens could help here, that players could either, for example, exchange the tokens to be used in another game, or you enable a marketplace. So a player could sell their tokens if they stop, for example, playing the game to another player, and the game provider takes a particular share. And it's very important that you have to separate the token as an investor, the security token, where you say you are, for example, a shareholder of the company through blockchain-based tokens, and the tokens that are used in the game. And this is maybe the big mistake that Beyond the Void did, that there was just one token, and it was on the one hand the token which kind of was the ownership token of the success of the company, and the game token as just one token, and it did not separate the ecosystems. With gamification, again, we have those different colors, and you can use blockchain-based tokens to secure the success of the game, the achievements, the badges. You can create meta games, like that you collect keys and you open chests, there you get separate items again. But the really great thing is you can also create ecosystems if the result of the gamification leads to redeemable vouchers or anything that has real life value. So this is something that really helps when you secure gamification on blockchain. And in my humble opinion, and in what I've been experiencing with blockchain and gamification the last years, my best guess is that blockchain really helps to take gamification to the next stage. And this is a project that we did with our Austrian company, the Picapipe. We won the Austrian Blockchain Award this year in the category Research and Development. And it's the first gamification of its kind where we try to do something good. So the gamification is about to find heat leaks in Austria. In the test pilot, it was in the city of Graz and Vienna. So we encourage our players to walk around to find, for example, a bakery, to make a photo, and then other players have to verify that this is a real photo from the bakery. With this, we also train with machine learning and AI that will be capable of doing the verification process automatically. But of course, we still also need the users for this. And then we have a token system in 3 colors called Silver Bronze, and also all the achievements and badges. And everything is secured on blockchain. So every badge a player gets is a blockchain-based badge. Your full transparency, other players see that that is not been any cheat that we as the game providers have not just given badges to someone because we like them or we press a button. And then those tokens, bronze, silver, gold, that have value at the end because you can transfer them to vouchers. And they're also blockchain-based points. Then you can exchange them to a voucher, and then you can redeem the voucher from one of your partners. And when a player redeems a voucher from one of the partners, and of course, either it's a sponsorship or we have to pay for this, then with a smart contract, automatically the payment transfer is processed, which really helps to run such a system. Because players, in regards to gamification, they like transparency, they like objectivity, and they want some value of what they're doing, especially here in this case, when they help to find heat leaks. By the way, why do we like to find heat leaks? Our partners will install converters, and we reconvert the energy from those heat leaks to heat nearby places. It's an idea for sustainable cities. So here you see the graphical interface of the other blockchain, where on the one hand you have the player accounts, on the other hand you have the accounts of us, or the account of us, the game provider, and you can look into the blockchain-based transactions. And here, at this point, something very important. So this is a non-tradable utility tokens, or a tradable utility token only in the sense that you can trade the tokens with our partners. So you have two options. Option one is that you, as the game company or as the provider, fully operate the blockchain wallet addresses of your players, and you give them a classic login with username and password. At the same time, you ensure that not even you as the game provider, you do not know the private key of the accounts that you create. Only the system knows the private key, and only you can just generate a username and password for your users. What you do here in this case is you use so-called digital identifiers, and they have access to the private key. So then at a certain point, you can give the user the control, and that they kind of disable our part, so they have full control of their hidden private key through the digital identifiers. But so we make sure that the tokens will never be sent from one account to another unauthorized, because for that you need access to the private key itself. The other idea is that the players can join with their very own blockchain wallet addresses, and then you have to set up a list of approval models to again make sure that the tokens are prevented from being freely tradable on the market. So that's very important, that on the one hand we use blockchain to secure the data, but on the other hand there are still restrictions, because it's very important that those tokens stay where they are supposed to stay. The next chapter is game-based learning and assessment, and just what I explained, 100% is true for game-based learning and assessment, because all the grades that you achieve through playing a game or through e-learning should stay with the account. And with the team of the Texas A&M students last summer, it was August, September 2019, so we're still last summer, still last autumn, we created the game called Gallery Defender, which has different levels. So it has a tutorial, you can free practice, you can simulate the assessment, and then you can click on assessment, and there you get this warning that you're now actually securing your result on blockchain, and that you have to press continue. And you are in the role of a gallery owner, and the thief wants to steal your paintings, and with knowledge around the topic of arts, you prevent the thief from stealing the paintings. At the end, you get a result. So here we have 330 seconds. You have 10 correct answers and an A grade. And here you see on the screen on the right bottom the transaction info on the blockchain. So at that moment, a utility token is being sent to the account of the learner with an encrypted message. So only the learner and the the school has access to the data. And when you as the learner decrypt your message, you generate a shared key. And that shared key can be used to give others, like your parents, for example, or your future boss, access to the information. And this is my MIT project and what I like to continue at Danube University in the next years, and with my second PhD in Malta. The idea of that you have an EID wallet, which is capable of holding different IDs, like a verified Twitter account, yours have sovereign identity, the digital identifiers, your European Union EID signature. And then you have certain set of data which is secured on blockchain, which could be, as in our case with the game, learning credentials and certificates, but it could be also health data or access to municipal services or simple things like concert tickets. And so in your wallet, like with the Exodus wallet I showed you at the beginning, you have the utility token on the one hand, you combine it with your identity, and this gives you access to the service or access to the particular data. And you can use shared keys to share this data with others. And then also AI comes in, because as we know, in the next years, more and more AIs will take over things in our daily lives. And with this system and with blockchain and also with recording what the AIs are doing on your behalf, using again digital identity and blockchain, we can ensure that those digital identities are not messing around with our lives, but we still control what they are doing, or at least we can look up what they have been doing. One of the last chapters is esports. So esports and blockchain you can use blockchain-based tokens to bet, like we used to from all the betting companies, but you can also enable peer-to-peer betting. So I play a game against another person, and a smart contract ensures the contract that we have set up in our peer-to-peer esports game. Again, a little bit similar to what we experienced with Beyond the Void is a hero coin. So the system itself is working perfectly, but at the very beginning, they started their own coin through an ICO. It was the first initial coin offering in Austria. And nowadays you see that the trading volume of the hero coin itself is very, very low. So most of the people are using the chain where the hero coin token has been created, the Ethereum chain, for the services of hero coin. In the gambling industry, you can use blockchain to secure the player data. So this would truly help to prevent, for example, players that have some sort of addiction, or players that are absolutely in the debt, to prevent entering the data. And with blockchain, the different venues and also the online gaming providers could exchange data without making the private data of the person public. So you would just get the information that this player is on a list that it should not, that he should not actually be capable of entering the venue. Then we have of course the game of speculation, as we have right now. Someone is tweeting something, and this makes the price of the smaller tokens go up. So please be sure if you are investing what you're doing, and be very, very careful. And then another great thing is that you can create full game ecosystems using blockchain and decentralized servers. You can, of course, use centralized servers as a backup, but you can make your players host the game and be the game masters using a sophisticated blockchain-based system. This is a prototype we have been building for a skiing game in Austria. And there's a game called Bridge Champ on the other blockchain. They're doing quite the same here. Then, of course, we have mining. Some people would perceive mining as a game itself. We have different mining algorithms. That's something for another lecture, because I have only 2 minutes left. And then mining itself could be a game, because most of the time it's about using computer resources. And why not playing like mining in a virtual computer game while your computer is performing those tasks? The approaches have not been super successful yet, I have to admit honestly. And if you play such games, those game providers tend to put faces of famous people on their websites, and it's always very, very hard to check if those people are involved. The only possibility is to write them an email and ask. So please, again, be very careful if you spend money for smaller approaches and ideas. So if they want your money first, be careful. And then, of course, payment gateways. That's something cryptocurrencies are great to be used for. Of course, know your customer is very important. So to fit into the regulational frameworks, we will not use cryptocurrencies to receive illegal funds, but we have know your customer. You should have know your customer services in place to prevent this. And of course, fraud control in many, many aspects, because everything is recorded on blockchain. You can record that something is an original piece, like this machine is an original machine. You have a chip, and on the chip you have the information of the game provider, the last update whatsoever, and the clients can scan the chip and have the information. The same you can implement in online games and in nearly everything you like to secure and you like to show that this is an original. So again, I'm nearly finished the last slide, and it's so important because it's a cybercrime conference. Be cautious, fraud alarm. Most of the blockchain system itself are of course not fraudulent. They're perfectly working like the best machines we've ever created, like Bitcoin, Litecoin, the other network. But there is a lot of fraud around the topic of blockchain and around the fact that we as the people are not yet educated enough, and you feel that you can make easy money. So this is, for example, such an ICO. They made a great website at first with fake people on the website, and then they wrote the word penis and fled with several million euros of funds. So again, it's not the fault of the blockchain itself. The blockchain has nothing to do with it. It's about people creating stories around the topic of blockchain to fraud you. So thank you very much. This was my talk. I'm ready to answer any immediate questions, of course, in the chat, and then later on in the panel. And I stop my presentation, and I encourage Professor Dingli to share his screen, and we continue directly.
So, hi everyone. Is everyone seeing my screen? Yes? Is everyone hearing me? Yes, okay. So let me start. So today I'll be talking about when children take on the role of criminals through play. So I'll be talking about this, and also about another element which we designed a few years back. It's actually a project with
From my end, I don't hear the sound, but is it just my issue or is it something general?
You hearing me or no?
I can hear him perfectly.
Okay. Thank you. You're fine, Alex. Okay.
It was on my end. I'm sorry. I turned it off
No worries,
on
no
the
worries.
headset.
No worries. So I'll start the talk by going through different elements of crime, which especially children encounter on their day-to-day games, and then I'll briefly go through a project which we designed together with the Cybercrime unit in Malta, which they're using as well as part of their work. So the first thing I'd like to point out is the element of digital natives. Sometimes we look at children and we think that they're very similar to how we were when we were young, but really and truly they're very different, especially not because of course the children change, but because their exposure to technology is much, much, much more different than what we had when we were young. That's why they're called digital natives, and we're normally digital immigrants. What's interesting is that the first generation of digital natives now already became adults. So, they're about 20 years old, and they were born after the year 2000. And you might be surprised when you start talking with these children. They already know the difference between an iPhone, an iPad, mobile devices, and they know how to navigate them, especially the touch interfaces. In fact, it's interesting, something which we noticed, that a lot of children have lost the ability to use the mouse, and they have to learn how to use the mouse, and they think that all these screens are touch screens, because for them, it's what they've been exposed to. This also means that they will be more exposed to criminal things than we were when we were young, because when we were young, we were pretty much shielded. But of course, they have access to online games, chats, and these sort of things. A big issue, of course, online is the element of trust. On the internet, nobody knows you're a dog, and that's pretty much true. There are 500 million active users on social media, and people spend over 700 billion minutes per month. So of course, the element of trust is a very, very big issue. Even though I'm sure you tell me that, kids under 13 should not be allowed on Facebook, but 40% of children are actually on Facebook. They have some sort of account. Now you might ask me, so how did they create that accounts? Ironically, for many of them, it's the parents who actually create those accounts for the children. And apart from that, let's not forget that the checking mechanism in Facebook is quite lacking. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg stated that even when it comes to fake news and dubious news, there isn't much really happening. Of course, they stepped it out with the recent elections, and because of the case of the Russian interference, but really and truly, there's still a lot of things which they should be doing. Excuse me. So, apart from these issues, there are other violations, such as copyright issues, privacy issues, loads of scams, including phishing, and also this leads to other problems which are online. And a lot of the time, when it comes to rating, especially in games, when you come to decide whether you should play a game or not, especially based upon your age, a lot of time these age restrictions are pretty much ignored, and children are allowed to play whatever they like. Of course, a big issue is privacy, and over here I have two real posters, actually, billboards. One of them is a guy who's looking for a date, and the other one is a guy whose wife is leaving him. They decided to make their first rather public, but I've placed them here because it's also interesting to know that when it comes to digital immigrants, most of them do not realize sort of the implications of sharing stuff online. There are those actually that think that, that by sharing things online, nobody will see what they've shared. Others, on the other hand, think that everything will be shown to others. And because of that, their sensitivity towards sharing personal information is quite lacking. Some of them do not realize that, when you put something online like that, it's as if you've placed a poster in front of your doorway and telling people, look at me, this is what I'm doing. So digital natives give less value to privacy. And in fact, that is one of the problems we are having, and will probably keep on growing in the coming years as well. Now, there's an issue as well with the algorithms which are being used at the back end. So over here, I said from Peppa Pig to Gangsta Pig. This is actually something which happened to myself. One of my kids, when he was little, he was used to watching Peppa Pig on his tablet, and one fine day I realized that he actually managed to get hold of his tablet and go into YouTube and look for Peppa Pig. Now, of course, I was a little bit baffled, sort of. I couldn't understand how a kid of 2-3 years old managed to find Peppa Pig on YouTube. But ironically, he found this button, which was a history button, and he went back to his history to look for these Peppa Pig videos. Now, the problem, of course, because he did not ask for permission as well, but the biggest problem which I see with these things is that once a Peppa Pig video or any other video finishes, then of course the algorithm suggests new videos. And most of the time, it shows similar videos of Peppa Pig, but we've all know that there have been incidents of videos of Peppa Pig and other cartoons like Popeye, for example, that have been dubbed with foul language. So the naughtier version of Peppa Pig. Of course, when it comes to the algorithm makes no difference between one video and the other. For them, it's all Peppa Pig or Popeye or whatever. So essentially, the algorithm is, without knowing, grooming these kids towards going for naughty content. And let's keep in mind that when it comes to, let's say, naughty content, it's much more appealing, much more shareable. If you just look at the VR industry, a big chunk of the virtual reality industry is driven by the porn industry. So these kind of things, of course, attract a lot of people, a lot of shares, and the algorithm learns that these things attract people. So it tends to share them much more than other content. This is having much more far-reaching implications. If you look at the credit scoring systems, which is in place in many countries, the credit scoring system can actually decide whether you get a loan or something like something like that, but it is affecting as well the lives of many people. So these algorithms are now deciding whether children enter foster care, which parents receive medical care, which families get access to stable housing. So it's all based upon a lot of number crunching by these automated algorithms. And what's worse is that these algorithms, a lot of the time, are proprietary of commercial organizations, private companies. And there is little or no visibility on how these algorithms actually decide who should take a benefit and who shouldn't. Another important element is, of course, cyberbullying. Cyberbullying can be quite dangerous on the online world because it's less visible, it's very private to the personal device. In fact, in a recent survey, 8% of children are aware of cyberbullying accidents. 1/5 of teens suffer from cyberbullying. They're embarrassed about their situation. Actually, they think that it happened because of something which they did. They're afraid of the backlash from the bullies and also from others and also from the parents, because one of the main actions which parents normally do is take away the device, take away the computer or the mobile phone, which is the main source of the cyberbullying. So there's a lot of issues related to these sort of abuses. But of course, these can lead to other things. And as you can see over here, this is actually a conversation. It's a real conversation. It's a 13, 14-year-old couple. And they're speaking about a peer who reported another teenager. They're also saying that he has a firearm. And actually, they're thinking of committing a murder in this case. All right, so I've highlighted some of the text. So there's written, I'll kick his ass. I'm gonna end this, and then he is dead. He's so dead. So these are very harsh threats. And finally, I'm kill his ass. All right. So they were actually thinking of committing a murder in this case. Luckily, the conversation was tracked before they actually committed the crime, and the crime was actually prevented in this case. Roblox, a very powerful and famous platform, especially with younger kids, but there have been some cases as well when it comes to this platform. So parents discovered graphics messages sent to children, some of them related to rape and sexual activities. Now, to be fair, it wasn't really the Roblox platform, but more a third-party platform associated with Roblox, which unfortunately they didn't do the correct filtering, and they allowed this content to pass through. Now, of course, keep in mind as well that it's extremely difficult as well, especially because, especially when it comes to chats, people do not write using correct grammars, they use shortened words. So even when it comes to have automated algorithms to actually detect this content, it's extremely hard. So some children were unfortunately groomed to send sexually explicit material of themselves. And of course, children are children. They do not realize that an abuse is actually happening. There was another case where the parent actually saw a child's avatar being gang raped in the game. And another parent, he said that one player told his character to lie down, then laid down on top of him and began moving in disgusting sexualized manner. Okay, so the problem is that, of course, you find these sort of predators all over the place. So we have to be extremely careful with what our children are doing. In fact, a few years back as well, there was quite a big case on a platform called Second Life. Second Life was a 3D virtual environment where people could create their own avatar, then they could go to different islands on Second Life and have social conversations. It was like a sandbox. But there was a report by Sky News that actually managed to find a secret location within Second Life, which was called Wonderland. And this Wonderland was essentially a pedophile playground where the pedophiles used to meet over there, exchange information, and of course do acts even on the Second Life platform. Another issue is, of course, violence, which it's very common associated to games, especially. So, in 2011, there were the London riots, and this is what was written by the Evening Standard. These are bad people who did this. Kids out of control. When I was young, it was all Pac-Man and board games. Now they're playing Grand Theft Auto and want to live it for themselves. Now, games are the most easiest, things which one can actually accuse, because you tend to see a lot of violence in games and stuff. But in reality, even though there have been studies and studies about violence in games and their association in real life, they never found any conclusive relationship. So, it's not true that if you play a violent game, automatically you became a violent person. Also, when speaking with children, it's very obvious that from a very young age, children realize that, they're just playing a character. And it's a sort of role play for them, and it doesn't mean that because they played, in this case, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, they're gonna do exactly the same scene once they move out of the game. However, having said that, games is a media which affects a lot of people as well. So it's very similar to when you watch a movie. After the movie, you have this sensation. It was a funny movie, you had fun, or it was a sad movie, so you're a little bit sad. Of course, games are a little bit much more affecting people because and they're interactive. So the interactivity means that you're much more immersed in the game than if you're watching a movie. Having said that, as I said, the studies do not show that there's any relationship between violence in games and violence outside. But of course, if the person playing the game is disturbed in some way or another, that will have a very negative effect on that person. So in that case, one has to be very careful about that person. Another important element of the online world is of course, the virtual influencers. So these are virtual characters which are very similar to human characters, and they actually have this virtual life which earns them a lot of money. So as you can see over here, you can see on the left there is Bella Hadid, which is a real person, but next to her she's embracing little Michaela, which is a virtual character. And on the right, there is Emma, which is also a Tokyo-based virtual characters. So these virtual characters are top virtual models of Prada, Chanel, Calvin Klein, and all these big brands, and they can earn around 2.5 million up to 10 million per year. Now, this leads us, of course, to another issue, the virtual apparel market. So when you have virtual objects and their value, it is estimated that in a few years' time, this market will go up to $10 billion. All right? So it's a very huge market. And you might remember things like, I don't know, the farming on Farmville, as I said, Second Life, which had their own economy. And actually, there were people who actually became rich, multimillionaires. The economy on Roblox and other games. Basically, a lot of these big platform games have their own economy as well. Now, why virtual objects, or what's the importance? Now, a virtual object is not really an object, but it's more of a service. All right, it's made up of digital, so ones and zeros, but it's really a service. But the importance of the virtual objects is threefold. First of all, the element of the virtual object, so it's a nice object, and people like nice things. Second, the gesture. You are actually buying. So when you buy, there's this rush that you feel happy that you bought something, you own something new. And third is the trophy effect, that when you put that virtual object on your avatar, it could be virtual Nike shoes or virtual clothes, then you can show them around that you bought that object. So these three elements, which are very much similar to what you would find in real life, are also found in virtual objects. It's interesting, sort of the previous talk of Alex as well, where now you can link them as well with blockchain. And once you buy that object, it stays with you and you own it for as long as the blockchain remains active, which is much more than what most of these games actually allow. Another thing with virtual objects is that they're much more worth it than things which you buy in real life. So imagine you're playing a game, an MMO, and you decide to buy 10 euros, which gives you 1 million golden coins, which is a virtual currency inside this game. So these coins will allow you to play for countless hours, 10, 20 hours, depending, of course, on the game. But if you take the same amount in real life, I don't know, and I buy a cinema ticket, there's just an entertainment for 2 hours, which is also passive entertainment. So as you can see, virtual objects are much more worth it, much more engaging, and people enjoy them much more than they do in real life objects. Another crime which happened a few years back is one called, which is a mixed reality crime. It happened in Maple Story. So there was this 43-year-old woman. Her character, her avatar had a relationship with another avatar. So it was happily married to a 33-year-old man. They had a fight, of course, and then they broke up. So what did this woman do? She logs into her husband's account and kills his character. All right, the Japanese man realized what had happened. He called the police and filed a real complaint. So as you see, the crime happened on a virtual platform, but actually the repercussions happened in real life. And actually, this woman was facing 5 years in prison plus a $5,000 fine. Now this leads us to another issue, sort of, if a crime happens in the virtual world, can people pay for it in the real world? And there are some jurisdictions like Japan, the South Korea, which recognize game crime, but there are other jurisdictions which actually they don't, and we'll see an example later on as well. Another crime which happened was in this 3D social networking website called Habbo Hotel, and it's related to a virtual theft. So there was this Dutch teenager who was arrested for stealing virtual furniture from rooms. He did this by simply creating a Habbo-looking website. And actually people thought that they were actually going inside the Habbo Hotel website, and he was getting the virtual objects from that website. Of course, he was just luring users into entering their account details, and he managed to steal no less than $4,000 from these users as well. Another interesting concept is virtual slavery. A company called Black Snow Interactive. So they created these virtual sweatshops in Tijuana, Mexico, where there were people actually playing games like Ultima Online, Dark Age of Camelot, and they were collecting virtual objects. Of course, they were paid pittance, almost nothing, okay, but they were getting these virtual objects and reselling them for a much bigger price than they were actually paying to get these virtual objects. Another interesting here is virtual mugging, and in this case, there's an element of AI involved as well in this crime. So there were players of Lineage 2 who actually created bots. So what were the bots doing? The bots were defeating the other player's character. It was, much easier for the bots to defeat them because they were essentially simple AIs working pretty fast, and they were taking their items. This happened in Japan, and Japan actually arrested the Chinese student who was behind the virtual mugging and the online sales of the stolen items as well. Another interesting thing what happened was in The Sims Online. In this case, there was the 17-year-old boy called Evangeline. He built this cyber brothel, and customers were actually paying paying the virtual brothel to actually go with their avatars and have cyber sex over there. This eventually led to the cancellation of his account, but the creators of the sim decided not to take any legal action. once again, here we have a crime which transpose from the virtual world to the real world. In fact, we had this player Jernigan, which was an online avatar in a 3D world, and began this romance with a 52-year-old virtual lion. Right, the lion was of course another person, but the avatar was that of a lion. Something happened and they had a fight, and of course the person couldn't fathom that they broke up. So she went and actually found him and tried to kidnap him at his job, but this didn't work. So what she actually did was then to dress up as a postal worker for no less than 4 days, and she tried to find his address. When she found his address, she entered his apartment through the window, and she hid over there with a taser gun, and she managed to immobilize his dog. And she bounded him and engaged him in the bathroom and was there waiting for her online lover to return back. Of course, this didn't work out. The guy managed to realize that what was happening. He called the police, and this person is now awaiting trial for attempted kidnapping, burglary, and other charges. Here is another crime which transposed from the virtual world onto the real world, and now we're talking about murder. And over here, you realize the importance of game laws. So there was this player who played on the Legend of Mir 3, which features heroes, villains, sorcerers, warriors, etc. And they managed to win this enormous sword. Qui, who was a friend, actually lent this sword to his other friend, to Zhu. And Zhu, rather than keep it and use it for playing the game, actually sold it and made no less than 1,000 euros for this mythical sword. Okay, which of course exists only in the game. Key in this case went to the police station, but over there, I believe it was in China, there were no laws to regulate the sale of virtual objects. Okay, so technically for the police, this person did absolutely nothing. So Key went to confront Zhu, and he actually stabbed him and killed him. All right, and today Key is sentenced to life imprisonment. Other games such as Fortnite, there are different ways of trying to obtain credit card details, which are then used to purchase V-Bucks. V-Bucks is the currency inside Fortnite. What then they do is that they get the stolen V-Bucks and they actually sell them on the dark web for a discounted price. Right? And that way they are actually cleaning the money. So essentially they are using Fortnite for a sort of money laundering activity on the dark web. There are also other sites which offer V-Bucks generators, but of course they're not real. Okay, so they take the credit card details of the players and then they give them to criminals so that they can launder them through the dark web process, which I told you earlier. So a social shield is important, but extremely difficult. So unfortunately, the monitoring techniques that most parents think are good enough to help keep their kids safe are often not good enough, right? And in fact, it's very hard to monitor the online activities of kids. There's simply too much content being created by our kids and their peers, not to mention predators, for parents to keep track of without help. We expect the situation to only intensify as more social networkings develop and more kids get involved. And in reality, that's what's happening. And the crimes are becoming more sophisticated, and the police cannot really keep up with those crimes. So in the next slide, I will illustrate briefly a project which we did with the local cybercrime unit. So one of the problems which they had was that when they confiscate a machine from potential abusers, they have to analyze every file on that machine. So what we created was to create this child abuse detection system for them, which is based on AI. It creates this database, one, to help the cybercrimes unit work less tiring, because going through all the image files, it's quite daunting. Currently, the cybercrime unit has to search each image manually for signs of potential child abuse, so they have to list all the images and go through them one by one. A confiscated hard drive often contains thousands of images, if not more. So we created this prototype child nudity detection system. Okay. How does it work? It works as follows. So we locate the face in the image. If the face is found, then we do age classification. So we classify whether it's a young person, an elderly, or an adult. If it's a child, then we go for nudity detection, and in this case, we look for skin. All right, so exposed skin. If there is a substantial amount of exposed skin, in that case, then we flag the image so that the cybercrime unit can actually analyze that image themselves. So how does the age classification happen? It's different from age detection. So our approach is not to guess the age, but to actually do a simple classification between young and adult. So if the faces are found, then the image is scanned for nudity detection, and we use things like wrinkle detection on the human face, etc. Okay, so those are the areas which we are actually monitoring in our classification. We then do an image similarity. So in this case, that girl is a model, all right? So we have all the consents for her, but we had used her to look for images. And as you can see, she's wearing her bathing costume because we are looking for exposed skin. Right, so that gives us a higher match of exposed skin. So we locate interest points in the image and we try to match those interest points between them. So we identify the person, whether it is the same person between one image and the other. Also the location. So, you know, from the background, we can identify different elements of the background. And like that, we can build this database of images. And this is actually the prototype which we had actually developed for the police, and which gives the details which are necessary. So to conclude, so what can we do to help the parents in general, all right, with their kids? So first of all, we need to educate players. So we need to tell children what is an abuse, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, and what they should do when they are faced with all sort of abuse. Secure gaming and store accounts. You know, we have to teach how important these gaming accounts are, because you know they can be used for quite negative things. Keep personal details private. All right, it's not something people should go and discuss. Don't encourage trolls or bad behavior, but report it. So if children especially are faced with these sort of abuses, they should raise it immediately, either with their guardians or through the platform as well. Buy from trusted online stores. There are loads of stores which are faking other gaming trusted platforms, so you have to be careful and only use trusted online stores. Avoid dodgy downloads, you know, some mods, links, and things which you know, sound too good to be true. Okay, so these things should be avoided. Avoid public Wi-Fi, so as much as possible use Wi-Fi which are trusted, so like the home Wi-Fi, and keep the software up to date, because when there are flaws in the software, an update is released, and this will help to close that flaw. So that was all from my end. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know.
Thank you, Alexiei. Any questions, please use the chat or maybe the panel, but for Rex, it's not 100% sure if we can attend, because in Austria and in Malta, of course, we celebrate Christmas, and we have a lot of Christmas activities. In Austria, it's a bit easier because we are under full lockdown again, so we are not allowed to meet our loved ones today. That's why we can enjoy the conference a bit more. But in Malta, Alexiei can meet his family. So let's continue with the next talk, Professor Sonja Gabriel. And Sonja, the floor is yours. Just share your screen and start.
Yeah, thank you. Just still sharing my screen. So I hope you can see everything.
It's fine, Sonja.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a topic that has become quite important the last years. It's about hate speech, and of course I will concentrate on hate speech in digital games, and have a look, of course, what basically is hate speech, how do we define hate speech, what's the difference between hate speech and cybermobbing, for example, and what is at the moment taken as measures against hate speech in games, and asking the question, is it enough what is already being done, or should there be some more things? Yeah, so I've put here a definition by the United Nations. So basically hate speech, of course, is communication in speech, writing, or even sometimes using pictures like the memes we all know. And of course, this communication is used to discriminate against other groups of people or against person because of belonging to a certain ethnicity, nationality, race, because of their religion, gender, or anything else that kind of identifies this person with a certain group. Yeah, so as I've already said, it's about verbal attacks or using pictures, and it's inhuman statements. So normally we know, or sometimes we even don't notice that it's already hate speech. So as you can see here, the victims themselves decide if something is hate speech or not. So that's a big difference, maybe regarding to cyberbullying, where other people can decide themselves if that is cyberbullying or not. Here for hate speech is the victims that decide on that. And of course, there are a lot of different reasons why people are exposed to hate speech. Yeah, how does basically hate speech work? People are excluded from other groups. So for example, when we talk about games, they are not allowed to join a team. They're intimidated using all kind of communication tools within a game, or as we will see later on, also outside games. People using hate speech think they are better than the other groups, so they want to dominate. And what do you think is especially sad? Some people also use hate speech because it's just fun and thrill for them. So as we know from many other kind of similar things like cyber mobbing, fun is a very important factor, unfortunately, why people don't behave like they should. So I've already talked a bit that games and hate speech, unfortunately, are connected quite closely to each other. And it was, I think many of you will remember Gamergate, so this really big thing that popped up in 2014. This was the start of the hate speech discussion in video games. So it was about sexism, about women, and doing or playing video games, or even designing video games. You can see here some screenshots. You could all these kind of hate speech all over the internet. Of course, not only in games, but also on Twitter, Facebook, all kind of social networks, YouTube, and so on. So it was really a huge thing. And that was kind of the starting point to have a closer look what's happening in video games and around video games, that there's a lot of hate speech going on. Here are some figures from an American association going to or having a look at hate speech and different kind of games and players. So you can see the figures high. So more than half of online multiplayer games who already experienced harassment, hate speech because of their race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, whatever. And this shapes, of course, your gaming experience. You can see almost 3/4 of the people asked in this survey said, okay, that has done something to me. Yeah, sometimes it's not only, so to say, hate speech within a game, but really something, as we have heard before when Alexiei talked about some crimes really go into the real world, and that's the same true for hate speech. So physical threats, stalking, and things going on outside the game as well. And it's also a very, very high figure of players in the US already having experienced that. Of course, we have games that are more source of hate speech than others. So you can see here statistics, how many players have already come across hate speech in different games. So you have, of course, all these multiplayer online games League of Legends, for example, was very long considered as a very toxic game environment, having a lot of problems with hate speech. But I think what is really striking, you can also find Fortnite here or Minecraft here, for example. So games that are really played by children as well, not only by adults or all the teenagers. And I think that makes hate speech such a serious topic, because if children are exposed to hate speech, or teenagers, it might be even much worse than if adults are. Yeah, I've got an example here of League of Legends, toxic environment. So if you have a look at these screenshots, so you can see there's quite a lot of not such nice language in there, and it really tries to humiliate people, other players, because of sexual orientation, like you can see here, or other reasons. So you can find lots of these examples around. But hate speech, or kind of this harassment, is not only always this verbal things. You can see here, it's a screenshot of Fortnite, where you have symbols. So as we've talked about, memes and pictures can also be used for hate speech. And I think all of you will know this symbol. And so this is also something that's, sorry. My dogs now also want to talk something about hate speech. So this harassment in Fortnite really was, or is also a problem, because if children come across these things, it's not a nice way. Another reason, or another method how hate speech is used in games, you have here an example of Clash Royale, is also that clans or teams choose names that are very intimidating for certain groups of people. You have examples here, and of course these are things that a lot of people are not aware of, or it's quite hard to detect it, because as we will see later on, it's most chats are already kind of have filters, but it's quite hard for clan names or even players' names. So these are examples for hate speech in games as well. But as I've already said, hate speech is not only in this kind of games, in-game communication, but it's also in affinity spaces. So let's first of all have a look at what are affinity spaces or affinity groups. You have got a definition here. So basically you say an affinity group is just people having the same interest, wanting to work on the same domain, like, for example, a game, but affinity groups like communities of practice, which is kind of similar term for it, similar concept. You have that for all kind of professions as well. So they share common values, they share a way of thinking, of discussing things. They have a common language, of course. And that's something you can find not only within the games, but also around. Just think of YouTube, think of all kind of forum discussions and so on. And what happens in this affinity spaces, so I've already said YouTube or Twitch or all these kind of networks that are closely connected to gamers and gaming are also a really huge source of hate speech. Sometimes you have got here screenshots of 2 articles about PewDiePie, who is a really famous YouTuber doing a lot about games, and he uses hate speech in his videos he was, of course, yeah, he had to apologize afterwards. But the truth is, it's the problem that videos containing hate speech quite often are seen more often or are viewed more often. They have more clicks, and so they earn more money than if you use nice language. And of course, YouTube is also interested in people viewing things. So it's always the problem, what is done against that. Steam, you know, the platform where you can buy lots of games and play games. And there's also a real huge community discussing games. And you have here some examples, again, what you can find on Steam. So again, community affinity space, yeah, where either pictures are used or language is used quite often. Lead speech is used so that all kind of filters do not detect the words, but as a human being, you know what is meant by that. You can see that down here. So it's not Kristallnacht spelled here, but Kristallnacht, but everybody really can, who is a bit into this history, so you know what is meant, and using all kind of emojis here to kind of trick the filter. Discord, another channel in-game communication. You can find a lot of examples for hate speech here as well. So I've put 2 examples here. It's against certain race of people or people belonging to certain group, nationality. So hate speech here as well. So what is done, especially for Discord, because you can report people like in many social networks, communities, and in games. You can see here that's for the first half of 2020, so January to June, how many reports there were on harassment, including hate speech, of course. So nearly 90,000 compared to other things. This is the biggest part. But the problem is Discord did not do much about all these kind of harassment reports by users. There were more, of course, if you do any kind of real cybercrime or if you use hacks and cheats. There's much more reaction done. Mostly what Discord advises players or people reporting other community members, they just block this person and don't read what this person writes. So I think that's not kind of a good way. So which brings us basically to the last part. What about the solutions? Is it really possible to get rid of all this hate going on in and around games and all these kind of online communities? Of course, I've already said there are a lot of ways these providers try to tackle the hate speech. It has become an issue. So what you have for all kind of games and platforms is this kind of code of conduct. So how should players behave? Here's an example for the game Overwatch. And of course, they all include something. You should not use obscene language. You should behave nice towards all the others. You should pay attention to your communication. And you should also not use bad language, not in English, but also not in other languages and so on. So there, really every kind of code of conduct, you can read something that hate speech is not tolerated, that it should not be a toxic community. But yeah, writing things somewhere or putting them somewhere is one thing. We all know that not a lot of people either read this code of conduct or really stick to it. So of course you can report players or you can report community members in all kind of games and in communities. for example, you have here how you can report. So quite often you have in-game or on the website of the game kind of really forms where you have to state what has happened. You have got hate speech quite often here as well. You also can report club names or avatar names, things like that. So there are a lot of different possibilities. But what happens? The problem is quite often if you report these gamers or community members, it takes quite a long time for the people to check on that. And quite often nothing really serious happens to that gamers. So sometimes maybe accounts are banned or the players are banned for maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, but then they're back. And we all know it's quite easy to start in the meantime, if you really are into hate speech, to have another account and just go on doing things. Chat filters are also, of course, used, but yeah, just maybe either that messages containing hate speech or any kind of harassment is not sent, or things are maybe not readable. But of course, that makes problems as well. As we all know, artificial intelligence has to learn, and there are a lot of tricks, as we've seen before with the screenshot I've shown you, like lead speech. So you, I don't know, you use instead of a small L, the number 1, and then it's quite hard maybe for a chat filter to find out that this is basically a word or hate speech, but the person receiving this message can, of course, read it. So that's something really quite a problem. So sometimes, or some games like Rainbow Six Siege here, for example, even have automatic banning. So if you do something that's regarded as toxic behavior within a game, you will be banned automatically. So again, there is artificial intelligence behind that. But you know, algorithms are in some cases good, but they are not humans, and we don't have something like a strong artificial intelligence. So in some cases, maybe somebody is banned without, just because of saying something not really seriously meant to another team member. We all know that we sometimes get very emotional, and sometimes, of course, toxic behavior still is not detected by artificial intelligence. But of course, what we have seen in the last month and years, the pressure on the companies, on the platform providers is really getting harder. So they have to do something. Especially in 2020, we could see quite a lot of things happening. When you can remember, back then there were quite a lot of things happening, not only Corona, but there was against this Black Lives Matter in spring and things like that. And that was reflected in games as well. So here you have got an example of Fortnite. So in-game splash messages, so reminding players to be nice to each other, and also how you can report others and things like that were popping up in the game. So really to make sure all the people are reminded how they should behave, and if you're kind of victim, what you can do. And of course, especially, so what has said, this Black Lives Matters movement that was in May, June, all the companies reacted. You have got quite some examples here what different companies really put into their games or on their websites, and they all said, okay, that's nothing that should happen, and we, gamer community, we stick together, and they should not do something, and we will do something against all these hate speech, but they didn't tell a lot what they would do. Yeah, so you have got Nudity here for Call of Duty. Yeah, so again, it's equality, inclusion, but basically it's only words up to now. And then after that, in May and June, you could really read quite a lot of articles that these games and platforms are going to do something. But again, they did not really tell exactly what they are doing. So like here, Infinity Ward says it's working to tackle offensive names, but they don't give any details, which makes clear it's quite hard really to do something against. Yeah, like EA Sports, again, so they will not tolerate racism. That's something you really could read quite a lot. As I've already said, a lot of companies and community providers try to have artificial intelligence as one of the solution, because when there are thousands of players online, it's not enough that person, or you would need a lot of people tackling all these issues. And so this is an article from February 2020. There are already a lot of researchers trying to develop new tools, but of course, things are not that easy. But artificial intelligence might be something that might help in future when it's getting better and better. But also the community itself tries to do something against hate speech. But even if you think, of course, with all these examples, there's a lot of all gamers are haters. That's not true. Of course, there are a lot of people wanting to play a game and wanting to be friends to all the other gamers. So there were, again, in June, to kind of protests against that. All the communities and providers should do something like that. So like Twitch, they call for a blackout because of sexual and racial abuses, or Reddit communities threatened to go for private to protest against the platform's hate speech policies. So the communities are trying to do things themselves, because they're the feeling that basically it's not done enough. And that's basically what I can't give you a solution. So I can't answer the question, what can be done? I just wanted to show you there's a lot going on, a lot of discussion. And of course, I think it's something we all need to solve together. It's not something that can just a community or just a provider do. So let's hope that hate will get less and less in the next years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonja, for your great talk. And I think the best is we proceed with the next talk. And this is from Thomas-Gabriel Rüdiger on cybergrooming in online games, an overview. Thomas, you can share your screen and the stage is yours.
Yeah, I should share it. Do you see it?
Yes, we see it already, but not in full screen mode.
Oh, no problems. Wait. Yeah. Hi. First, I think I will want to give you a short warning, because it's not common for me to give a presentation in English. And so if I don't find the right word, please don't hesitate to say it to me, or give me a hint what kind of word I should use. And thanks, Alex, and the other speakers. I think it's really an interesting topic. And for me, around about 10 years, I researching criminal activities in online games, not only in online games, but this was my first starting. And perhaps it's interesting as in the time I'm searching for my master thesis, there was a cases where a gamer invests 2,500 euros in his online games, and the next day in virtual words and items, and the next day they were all gone outside this game. And so he went to the police, and then the police give a short article and told that he has luck that the police woman was a World of Warcraft gamer, in so they understand the problematic of his lost. And so I'm started to think about it. Is there criminal activities in games, and how the police handle with criminal activities? And I'm a gamer too, and I saw a lot of sexual different behaviors in games. And I never really think about it, but as a criminologist, then I started to think about it. And so, yeah, I want to start with an experience from one of my Instagram followers, and she sent me this case. She wrote, "It happened to me when I was 12 or 13 years. He pretended to be my age in a chat from an online video game. I wanted a game partner, and so I chatted with him. At some point, he sent me a pornographic video of a girl of about the same age and asked me to reproduce it. Fortunately, I realized in time that this is not really true, but I was too ashamed to tell anybody about it." And this experience I often hear, and a lot of people and gamer, mostly female gamer, give some aspects like this. And you know, the pornographic videos of a girl in the same age, it would be in Germany childhood pornographic, and I think this shows a lot of really interesting aspects of this risk for kids. And so I have 5 theses, if I'm not getting to the end. The first thesis is: the internet is characterized by the use of social media and online games. This represents a kind of public road traffic. It means that if you look at the street, you see a lot of people, unknown people, walking, talking, they communicate, they interact, and there are a lot of kids. And in the normal traffic, it would be not normal if an unknown adult go to a kid and say, "Oh, you are 9 years old, yeah, let us play together." A lot of parents, me too, would call the police if they recognize something like this. But in the digital space and in online games, it's for us normal. And this, I think, is a point to discuss. Because the internet currently represents a kind of anomic space characterized by a normality of criminal activities. For example, cybergrooming, sexual harassment, ransomware, and fraud. It means what I want to say is that it's normal for you to see criminal activities in digital space. If you look at your spams in your emails, every day, I think you are confronted with fraud, with people who want your money, and this is not normal for the physical space. It's a characterized aspect of a digital space. This normality of criminal activities to see it. And then the internet was created by adults for adults, and digital child protection played no significant role in this global space. This means that if you look at the global space, at the digital space, you can look at hardcore pornographic with only one mouse click, with one click. In Germany, in the past, if you want to buy pornographic videos, you have to go in a shop, and there's a door. There was a door with a sign only for people 18 plus, And there was a lot of protection elements to protect kids from pornographic elements. In digital space, it is normal. For the first time, I think so, for the first time, children are confronted with this major risk of this global digital space in online games and in social media like Instagram or Snapchat, more for the females. But I think a lot of risks are the first confrontation in gaming, like we heard before. Online games give cybergroomer, it means sexual offenders, an easy access to children through a shared gaming experience, sometimes harmless graphics, and a largely ineffective protection mechanism. What this means, if you look at some kind of games like only, for example, Brawl Stars, Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, Movie Star Planet, Habbo Hotel, these games have graphics for kids. It's not like a realistic graphic elements, like for example in Call of Duty or Battlefield. It's more graphics for kids, and if a parent see this graphic elements, he says, yes, oh, there's no violence, there's no pornographics, really good, you can play it, my kid, it's no problem. And I think this is a problem, or that could be a problem. And from Switzer study, I like James' study, there were kids, their favorite leisure activities when kids were alone, and they see gaming is in the middle, listening to music, sports, reading, but gaming in the central of their activities. And if they are asking what kind of apps kids under 12 use, and there you see, you know, YouTube, it's normal, I think, WhatsApp too, yes, Snapchat, Instagram, these are the famous social media activities at the moment, with TikTok. But then you see a lot of games, Brawl Stars, Minecraft, Clash Royale, Fortnite, Clash of Clans, what I see, Minecraft, FIFA, Roblox. And what is really interesting, I don't see any kind of game with only an single player modus. For example, like Witcher 3 or something like this. All of these famous games for kids or kids playing are online games. This means playing with other persons. And in Berlin, we had a few months ago a court decision about a really interesting cases. It was about Fortnite. I will show it, or I will tell you that you have a few slides away. And because with Fortnite moves their planet, you know it on the left side. Clash of Clans, my own account, you see I'm a gamer, yeah. Brawl Stars on the left side. And perhaps it's interesting in Germany, Brawl Stars, Clash of Clans, they are for kids 6 years old. Yeah, the official age sign states 6 years. Moves the planet 0 years. Only Fortnite have an age rating for years. And if you look at Germany, gamers, we have really an interesting gamer activities. We have around about 34 million gamers. In Austria, I think 5 million. And we have 26 million online gamers and 4 million gamers in Austria. And so I think it's important to know that I think that all persons under 14, I would say, are gamers. And so who plays games? I think this is really interesting because the half of the gamers are female, and a lot of media articles or something like this have this have the view of an male gamers, but no, the half of the gamers are female. And the average age, this is perhaps interesting, in the year 2014, there was the average age 31 years, At the moment, we have 37 years old. It means that the gamers are getting older, and a lot of people are playing. Yeah. And so, what is cyber grooming in online games? First, what is cyber grooming? Cyber grooming is an is an understanding of sexual different behavior, of sexual criminal activities. It means that cyber is more social media and online games. And grooming is from the beard. It means that you have to go and to groom your beard, or to groom your dog. In England, I think there are grooming centers where where dogs only, for example, were shaved and washes and something like this. The word means that in the digital space, sexual offenders used social media and online games to build up trust and communications with kids. And if you asked me to give a definition, I would say cyber grooming means that a person uses the online-based communication to influence a child in the hope of enabling sexual abuse. In Germany, this is really important. It means that only if you communicated with the kids in a deeper way, and you don't use the sexual communications or something like this, you only play with them, you talk with them, you talk about, for example, horses or the new games or sports, but you do it because you think that with this communication you get trust from the kid, and so you could enabling sexual abuse. Then this would be in Germany a criminal activity. This would be cyber grooming. Only this communication. It don't need any kind of sexual offenders. But we have a situation we are thinking a lot of in Germany, because around about the half of the offenders are kids and youths themselves. 42% of all the suspects in Germany we recognize as for cyber groomings are minors. And I think this is a lot, or I think this problem is because of the smartphones, and that we don't have in Germany media education at the first class in schools. And so kids don't know what they can do and what is not allowed. Because who want to talk with an 8-year-old girl that they don't have to send, or they don't have to ask for naked pictures or masturbation videos? And I know a lot of cases in primary schools where kids 9 years old send naked pictures from them, because they have the smartphones, they get the questions, and I think this is a great problem. And because of this, we have a lot of suspects in German criminal statistics for this criminal activities. It don't mean that they really want to do something bad, but the German law said it's criminal activities, because in cyber grooming, a lot of the resorts are childhood pornographics, and this is great, or kids pornographics, with great problems. And we know two kinds of offenders, two basically kind of offenders. The first one is the hypersexualized offender, and the second one is intimacy offender. What is the difference? And hypersexualized offenders here want to have an aggressive sexual communication with kids to extortion them with this information. So if he thought in the first time, it's all okay, do you have masturbations experience? And if the kid only wrote something like this in the chat, for example, in gaming, then he said, oh, nice, and would you send me a picture from you? And if they say, no, I don't send a picture, he say, yeah, you know, I could send all the people I know and you know this chat information that you are interested in masturbation, or I would kill your parents. And they only want to get a lot of extortion material against kids, and they have a lot of victims. I know cases with 100 victims, only one offenders. They are really like like predators, like high fish in the sea. The other offender is really problematic. It's an intimacy offender. He only wants to have one kind of sexual abuse partnership with a kid. He wants to meet the kid. He uses a lot of money, of time, travels to kids, and he builds up really something like an relationship. And the police couldn't do anything against this offender because they are talking, for example, 2 months with kids, and they never disclose their own identity. And the police couldn't talk 2 months with people, and they don't know if this is an offender or not. And if you would ask me, I think that we have 10 hypersexualized offenders and 1 intimacy offender. And what kind of modi operandi this offenders uses? It is so that for female victims, they mostly use something like a model scout. It means that kids, females use TikTok, use Instagram, and the offenders say, hey, you have such a really nice picture of you, a selfie. You're such a beautiful girl. I'm a model scout from a model TV show. Please, would you send me a picture from you, and I would make you famous. You would get a job in the model industries, but I need a picture from you, perhaps naked or in dessous or something like this. Then the kids send him these pictures, and with these pictures he uses extortion. This is really more for female victims, and for the male victims, they are mostly the gamer modus operandi. It means that an offender uses games and he plays with the kids, and they make crash raids, something like this. They are in a squad or anything. They play a lot of time together, and then they say, hey, let us please change our phone numbers, because or Discord Discord names, because we want to we need a way to discuss our gaming strategies. And we are gamers, and you know me because I'm your friend in the game. And then the offenders uses like WhatsApp or something like this, Discord, uses these elements to extortion the kids with the same way the model scout. And in Germany, I told you before, we had in Berlin in the May 2020 and really interesting cases. An offender, 29 years old, ran a Fortnite clan at PS4. He plays a lot of, spends a lot of times. He pretended to be a 15-year-old boy, and then he threatened 6 boys from 8 to 12 years from being out of the clan if they are not masturbate in front of the camera for him. And the boys do it, and he uses this this modi operandi of a gamer. He built up a relationship. He uses his clan. The kids want to be part of this clan, of this elements, and then he uses this relationship to sexual criminal activities against the kids. But we must say 8 to 12 years. Fortnite is in Germany age rating, I think 12 or 16 years, I don't know, because it's a little bit changing. Fortnite is a little bit different, difficult in the age rating in Germany. And it is not like I think Sonja told us before, it's not only the real free communication in games. The names of the names and the client names and something like this are problematic too. Only for example, this is Movie Star Planet, age rating 0 years. It means for 0 years kids. And there you have usernames like Geiler Boy. It means horny boy, real boy, and something like this. And these are really the normal names. I know horny daddy. And the game, the companies have a filter mechanism, but they use this most than something like an X in the middle of the name to blockade the filter mechanism. And why I send it to you, or I show Movie Star Planet. Sorry, Movie Star Planet, because we know a case where an offender's pressured 122 children into sex recordings, and he uses Movie Star Planet. 122 children. And in the communication, we have a lot of really interesting aspects of games. Only for example, Clash of Clans, I must say, a few years old, because the global chat is shut down in Clash of Clans. There's only the clan chat, but I only want to show you the communication ways for the offenders. So you have the global chat in a lot of games, free communication. Then we have the clan chat. It means in your clan, in your tribe, something like this, you can communicate with your clan members. Then you have the user and gamer name who communicate to something like this. Only for example, in Clash of Clans, I know clans with pedophile names. And then you have in a lot of games optional, mostly TeamSpeak, if you don't have the voice chat in the game or voice chat in the game. And of course, you have the option for messengers, for private message, for Discord, and something like this. There's a lot of communication options for offenders to talk with kids. And there was an interesting study in the, I think last year it was, that around about 35% of online gamers have experience with sexual harassment. And I think this is an increasing number. And in what way users perpetrators users, they can again soothe gaming the trust of children by playing together. Offenders shift then the communication to messengers. It means that the games are the first contact platform for the offenders, but mostly not the platform where they ask for sexual activities. And so the offenders are interesting in communication to messengers. So this is mostly the question for phone numbers, Skype, Kik, something like this. Offender sexualized then these conversations. And one problem I think is that in a study 2015, kids say that that if they are playing with unknown people together, that they don't think they are unknown, they think they are friends. And I think that this is a problem, because if you are thinking at your own childhood, if you are playing with unknown people, soccer or something like this, you build up a relationship. But if you are playing with an unknown people, you see that it's a kid. In gaming, you don't see it. They say we are 14 years old and you're playing with them, you build up a relationship to this, I think, profile of these gamers. And so this is the way for the offenders to make the sexual activities. Only for an example, this is Harbour Hotel in Germany. It's or I think worldwide. There was a lot of cases, sexual cases again. Here the gamer said searching pervert girl with WhatsApp, Skype, Kik, or Snapchat. The X in front of the names is to block the filter mechanism of the company. And we have in Germany the problem that a lot of these games getting age ratings for kids under 14 years. And then I know cases where they have sexual offenders in their games, and then the company says, oh, this is not our problem because our conduct of terms and something like this says that kids don't have to be in the games. They is not allowed to build up an account in our games. And so because of this, we don't have a problem. It is the question of the parents to protect their kids, not ours. And I think this is not the right way, and it's really easy for companies to say something like this. And there's another problem I only want to talk to you. I think there's a problem about the moderators or the gaming community managers and something like this, because we don't have qualifications, standards for qualification for these gamers. In a lot of gaming companies, there are only experienced gamers who get a place at the community manager. But I'm asking, why should an experienced gaming community manager should talk with kids if they are getting sexual contacts or something like this? In Germany, only for an example, if we go to a soccer stadium, the securities there have a lot of teaching from the state before they could work as this security. But in games, we say, nee, it's normal, only a gamer. And so in Germany, I say, don't use age ratings for children because they don't show the problem of interaction and communication. I say to parents, they have to look at the comments and the ratings in app stores because they are a good source to see if there are risks in games. Only for example, this is from Movie Star Planet, and there are something like comments in Google Play Store. There are a lot of pedophiles, and then you know, oh, there's an interesting place. And again, Movie Star Planet have an age rating 0 for 0 kids. Yeah, and so virtual playground. I think we have to discuss rules to protect children on playgrounds, why we don't have these rules online too. Only for example, this is a sign of a playground in my neighborhood, and we say playground only for kids under 14 years. I don't know any kind of signs in this way in the digital space for gaming. And then second aspect, I'm really interesting in New York, there was Operation Game Over in the year 2012. The police or the attorney, they identify or they uses the email addresses of sexual offenders in their databases and give them to the gaming companies. And then in this operation, I think we have to discuss it is good or not, but I only want to show you this operation. And in this operation, roundabout, only in the state New York, not in USA, in the state New York, there was 3,500 accounts of New York registered sex offenders in gaming. And then they shut down this aspect. I think this showed that only for sexual offenders plays games too, and then they can contact the kids. And this is a point we have to discuss. And so I'm asking me, police and gaming, what is the problem about police and gaming? A relationship full of misunderstanding because there's a lack of uninhibited discussions about the role of police in online games. There's an overlay discussion about violence in games. In Germany, we call it Killerspieldebatte, sehr unsinnig. But we had this discussion. Only for an example, what I'm thinking about it, and I wrote an article last month about it. In Germany, we have 200 police accounts on Twitter and 200 in Facebook, around about 400 police accounts in social media. but not one account in gaming. And why not? Why we don't use this prevention accounts on Twitch to talk about crime, police, and prevention? I want that a police officer sits and playing games, and that in Twitch, and then he talks in the gaming with kids about crime prevention, about cyber grooming, and something like this. And we would be not the first, because in Haberhotel there was the Netherlands police. They uses their own police avatars to talk to kids about this aspect, because they have a lot of sexual offenders in this place, and they have their own signs in Haberhotel. You see, this is the Dutch police sign. So because of the time, I could not show you what I want to say. How can we protect kids online? Only a small thing.
Please, Thomas, continue for 5 more minutes. It's our own conference. Don't skip the interesting parts.
You are my best friend, Alexiei. So, what I say to parents how they could protect kids. First, I want to say that the police don't protect kids in gaming. This is so. We don't have police officers who goes in every kind of fortnight or something like this to search for sexual offenders, or only, for example, digital hate crime for laundering or something like this, or fraud. And so at the moment, I think this is a difficult situation, but it is so. At the moment, the only protection are the parents. The companies don't do anything if the politics don't make a law against, and so only the parents. And what is the first thing I say to parents? Become an expert. What this means, a lot of kids want to play games and the parents don't have experience with the games. And so I say, if your kids want to play, for example, Brawl Stars, then you have to play Brawl Stars for your own, and plays 2 weeks and become an expert for gaming. And then second, become a contact person. What this means, if you are playing games, then I think you will see perhaps sexual names with extremism and perhaps communications who are problematic. And with this information, you could really authentic talk with your kids about the problematic and the risk in these games. And I know cases where where a kid shows her mother Clash of Clans, and he shows her half an hour only how to build up the wards in Clash of Clans. And then the mother said, yeah, it's 6 years old and it's only the wards, it's no problem, you can play it. And then the mother heard a presentation from me, and she told me, yeah, Thomas, I don't see the risk you show it to me. My kids don't show it. Yeah, why he should show it to you? Because he want to play it and he knows you don't know it. And because of this, he only show you the good sides. And so you have to become for your own an expert and a compact person for your kids. And this is a third person. Third tip, become an idol. What this means, if you are playing games and you are at your gaming that you are started to give bad words to the gamers and your kid hear it, then you are not an idol. You have to show that you are an idol in games too, and that you have to be positive and not negative. And this is for me the third hint I told the parents in a way to protect. I could say don't use games, don't give them games, access to games, but this is not what I'm thinking, because I'm gaming too and I want that they are playing games, but we as a society have to make these games for kids, in a protection too. And I think that we are bad in this element. Only for an example, if you are interested, we have make a prevention prevention clip about online gaming and cyber grooming at my police university. I don't show it in the whole, but you can see it at YouTube. The voice is in Germany, but we have subtitles in English, so I could wait. Look, this is what I want to show you, because at the normal playground, the parents were really, attention who plays with the kids. Then they are called the police. A few hours later, the kid playing an online game. The mother come and say, "Oh yeah, you're playing a game." And then the kids she don't ask with who she's playing. It is the same offenders he is playing at. He met in the playground, and this is element of our. It's a story of our of our prevention club. And this was my presentation. I hope you have understand the most of them, what I told you. And it was a pleasure for me. And thanks, Alex, for the 5 minutes extra for me.
It's fine, Thomas. It was a very interesting talk, and you just received great feedback from one of our participants. She said, "Thanks for the very informative pre-conference workshop. Really good topic you have selected. For me, it benefits not only as an academician, but also as a mother." So I think, thank you for your kind words. I think this shows that our little workshop today is hopefully useful for the audience. Next on stage is Mario Staller, and Mario will presenting a gamified teaching approach in the police academy, which was his topic of his master thesis at the Center for Applied Game Studies. And Mario, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Alex, thank you very much. I can immediately carry on from the topic that Thomas chose. Police and gaming, is there a relationship full of misunderstanding? I try to share my screen, and please give me a short shout if it doesn't work, but normally it should. See it like this. Now you should see it in full screen.
It's perfect, Mario.
Right. The following talk basically covers a gamified teaching approach at a police university. And as the title suggests, it covers a potential crime, and it also scratches on the traditional definition of gamification. And this concept was developed together with my colleague Sven Körner, who is a professor at the German Sports University. And we're have this kind of sidetrack where we investigate the potential of gamification in various settings. And for me, I'm working as a professor at a German police university, and there in the Department of Psychology. And the basic, or let's say the departure of this concept was that we have in our university, but also in others around Germany, there has been a increase in dropout in the police education. Through their studies in the first 3 years, there are a lot of young police officers dropping out of the studies for various reasons. But this is basically, one aspect that made me think about how can I deliver my teaching in a maybe more engaging way. And the second aspect is that the police itself, it's course through the kind of work, they're working in a very hierarchical structure, and therefore hierarchy also in the university from police students is not key, but it's also kind of problem, because they are we have only this these kind of power imbalances in there. And I was thinking about how to challenge these kind of things, because my normal background is basically I'm looking at a conflict management of police officers, and I was thinking about if we want to engage in, let's say, on an eye-to-eye level with our citizens on the streets, we have to live up to that ideal in the education as well. And that's why I find it very important to be on an eye level with the students. But thinking about that, if they knew my rank, that's a professor, they were like, he knows everything and we don't nothing. And in order to counter this kind of maybe initial imbalance, I was thinking about this kind of learning approach or gamified learning approach. So basically, when we talk about, in my case, psychology, it's the content. You see this dimension in the bottom of the screen, and of course there's the teacher. If it's me, of course I'm the teacher, and the different students, which are of course quite colorful, like here as well. And of course you have several pedagogical approaches to get the content to the students, or at least to engage the students with the content. And it's worth noting that, of course, the students can't engage with the content even without you. They don't necessarily need you as you maybe think, but this, of course, is a kind of pedagogical discussion. And concerning gamification, this adds, let's say, a fourth dimension on it. And as you can see on the slide, gamification influences maybe influences the students. It interacts with the content, and of course with the teacher as well. And this, of course, was also a starting point, because I basically like to game a lot. I like to play. That's why I had a lot of fun implementing this kind of gamification approach. So I'd like to introduce you to this approach, and of course we evaluated it, and then we draw some conclusions from it. So when we look at the curriculum in the police education in Germany, in North Rhine-Westphalia, where I'm at, we have 3 periods where the students, the young police students, are at the university. There's this Grundstudium. It's a kind of basic study in the beginning. It's a period of 7 months, and then in the second year they're for 3 months at the Hauptstudium 1. It's kind of main studies 1, you would translate it, and then the Hauptstudium 2, main studies 2, which lasts for 4 months. In the periods in between, they are at their practical training, where they learn to do traffic stops and learn all the practical work, and they are on the streets where they have their field training going on. So during these periods, 1, 2, 3, they're basically like, let's say, normal students at a university, where they have a lot of theoretical education with us. So since there were 3 parts, I split this concept in like a good TV series in 3 seasons. And in these 3 seasons, they all had, let's say, the same story arc. The professor, which is basically Professor Staller, wasn't there, and he never shows basically up. So that's how I introduced myself in the first lesson. I said I'm basically Professor Staller is not here, and I'm gonna take on the lecture. I'm gonna take on the lectures. So in the first season, my name is Mr. Sepur, and I work at the game development company. And there I try to engage the students in kind of gamified approaches. They should deliver a game to the other students. And that's basically their assignment they have to do in the first 7 months, and this assignment should cover all the psychology content they are learning. And since I'm a game developer myself, Mr. Sepur, I say in my company, the atmosphere is very relaxed. So I'm taking this atmosphere here, and we can work on an eye-to-eye level and start from there. And of course, I have studied a little bit of psychology, so I get the psychology content across, but in this kind of gamified environment. And in the next in the second season, of course, the professor wasn't there as well, and I took another job at the newspaper, Daily Planet. Maybe you know it from the DC universe. And I was working there, yeah, in this company. And in the last season, I was head of department of top development. And again, of course, the professor is missing for another reason, which they find out throughout the narrative in this gamified approach. So if we look deeper in the into season 1, let's call it, in the beginning of the first lecture, they got this kind of newspaper where it stated that the professor is kidnapped, and I'm the substitution, and yeah, we have to work around and find a solution to this problem. And throughout this season, more and more clues come up, and the students are asked to help by the local police department to communicate with the kidnapper and to negotiate for ransom, and to get this conflict in, you can say kind of conflict resolved. And the project the students engaged with in this kind of period here, they are negotiating with the kidnapper. They learn how to active listening, all the conflict management skills they learn throughout psychology, they could put to practice in there. And there were some kind of narrative elements, and they got briefed by special forces operators and debriefed by them. So in every lesson, in every session, there was a kind of narrative element which pulled them through the whole season. And in the end, of course, the kidnapped professor was released, and he promised that he will show up in season 2, or at least in the next Hauptstudium for the students. They didn't know it was a season. So in the next season, spoiler alert, the professor wasn't there as well. And I said, I'm as Mr. Sepur, the substitution. I now work at the Daily Planet, and you can help me with the work I'm doing here. And we are looking into police work. And we look at videos from police work they're doing on the streets, and we evaluate the content from a third-party perspective, like normal journalists would do, and evaluate the work critically. So the idea behind this approach was that they get out of their perspective as police recruits, police officers, and go into the perspective of a journalist to allow for more critical evaluation of police conduct in, for example, police-citizens interaction. So in this second season, they were tasked with engaging in kind of redaktionsmeetings. So they had the whole newspaper had a meeting in every session, and the students were in charge of the first 20 minutes of them. So they had to come up with a real life story of a police interaction. And of course, if you look at social media, there's always something up in there, and they evaluate this interaction from different perspectives, from the citizen's perspective, from different perspectives within the police, and of course they evaluate the interaction with the content they have learned in psychology. And as you can see here, the picture, they come up with very creative ideas how to deliver this content. They even printed newspapers. And but this was basically up to the students how they would deliver their meetings. And of course, in the second season, they did such a good work that in the end, the missing professor said to them via a video message, hey, thank you very much, and I will come to your last Hauptstudium, to last main studies. But nevertheless, of course, the professor didn't show up again. And me, as Mr. Sepur, the substitution, I was promoted to the Department of COP Development, and of course the newspaper said professor is still missing. And what we did in the last season of this gamified approach was we applied a concept known as the sport education model, where the seminar gets divided into equal groups. For us, it was always 5 groups. And these 5 groups, they got some team names, which they, of course, choose by themselves. And they competed against the other groups in every in every psychology session they had. And in each psychology session, one group was in charge of doing or hosting this kind of competition. So if team 1 was in charge hosting the competition, they made sure that the team 2, 3, 4, and 5 competed against each other and the game they could choose, but the game should be related to the content which were taught in psychology. And you can see here in the picture, one team chose that they did a quiz show, and they did a quiz show with everything. So with brothers, with the jacket of the quiz master you see here, they had intro music running while all the participants moved to the stage, and it was basically very, very fun. And the questions, of course, they were basic questions for psychology in this main studies, in this main study period, in the last one. And of course, then there was this kind of a ranking table where they could see which team is currently on the top position. And of course, in the end, there was a winning team, which we celebrated. And this was basically in every session, the last 20 to 30 minutes was this kind of gamified environment, which the students were in charge of. So, and in the end, of course, the professor was, or they found some clues about what was going on with the professor, but I will come to that later on. Yeah, so after these 3 seasons, which basically took 2 years to complete, we evaluated it. So all in all, 14 courses were taught in this gamified concept. All in all, more than 400 students. And a lot of the courses, they enjoyed season 1, 2, and 3. But there were also courses, it was due to administrational reasons that I was in charge of a course that I had only in the main study 2 and the main study 3, so in the last 2 seasons. And for them, of course, the gamified concept should also make sense, even if they haven't seen or haven't experienced the concept in the season 1. So at the beginning of each season, they got this kind of video clip, what has happened so far, so they can immediately engage in the content. So in the end, we asked them about what did you like about the teaching in psychology, and we purposely asked this question quite open because we wouldn't draw to the gamified concept. We want to ask how they experience it in general to see how the gamified concept affects all the other things. And of course, we asked them, what didn't you like in the psychology lessons? We analyzed this concept. We analyzed the data with qualitative content analysis by Myring. And of course, we did throughout the 2 years a lot of field notes, which we also analyzed with this method. So the results you see in the bottom of the screen, there were positive effects that were also negative as well. That's basically organization and gamification. in these, concerning the organizational aspects or themes that were mentioned, the students said that the group work made a lot of fun, and there were other students said the group work didn't make a lot of fun. And the same was with gamification. A lot of them said, the superhero stuff, the universes, the references to the pop culture and the narrative, it did make a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it. And other ones were saying, I couldn't relate to this kind of teaching concept. But the interesting thing here was that on the positive side, we had a lot of mentions of very positive effect throughout the course. The students said that the climate was very nice and they enjoyed it, and it was very good for teaching. And they had a lot of positive feedback for the teacher itself. They said the teacher was very relaxed. He was on an eye-to-eye level, and this made psychology one of the most enjoyable lessons they had throughout the studies. From the field notes, we saw, as I showed you on the picture, that they were really creative, the students. They spent a lot of effort in making videos, which they could, but they weren't assigned to do it like this. They enjoyed, or they did it by themselves. And this led to a lot of fun throughout the each sessions, and it made the experience very, very fun. And on the negative side, there were these kind of mentions of uncertainty. Students were unsure if this gamified approach prepared them well enough for their upcoming tests. So throughout these periods, they had two upcoming tests. One was a one-to discussion with a teacher, and the other one was a written test in the end of the main studies too. And here they were, some of them, unsure if this gamified concept prepares them enough. So these were the results. When we look at how these results make sense in the wider concept of gamification and, let's say, learning environments, we see that there is a difference, or that basically effective teaching is not has nothing to do with gamification. So if because the students, they said that a good group discussion, good group work, meeting the students on eye-to-eye level, these were very good. They really enjoyed it, but it wasn't directly related to the gamified concept. So the thing here is that the gamified concept basically, from my perspective, allowed that these things would happen, but the students didn't experience it on their side, that it was due to the gamified learning concept. And they enjoyed the positive learning climate, and this is basically what the students enjoyed. And from my reflection, I had to say that I really spent a lot of time in hiding Easter eggs throughout the sessions, and to prepare everything that the aesthetics inside the lesson fits. I wore the appropriate T-shirts. I had mugs from my company, which my alter ego works in, when I came into the classroom and all this stuff. And this made, let's say, the teaching for me very fun. And through this very relaxed attitude I had towards the teaching, this is what basically the students experienced. So the thing is, maybe I played a little bit more than some students, but this had a very good effect on the students as well, inside this whole teaching climate. So that's basically the thing when we talk about gamification. If we employ some game elements towards a context that it's not per se gaming-like, But for me here at this point, it was like, since I played on a lot of occasions, even the students didn't feel it that I did. The question is, who has to play in order to something call to something called for gamification, that we can call it gamification. Yeah, so all in all, it's kind of, or at least that's what the point we are trying to make, is that gamification itself is kind of a volatile concept, and if we employ it in this kind of pedagogical in this kind of pedagogical environments, we have to make sure that even students that don't want to engage, they can also experience, let's say, the normal content without the gamification content. And that's basically what this kind of approach always made sure, that the students could engage in the concept, in the narrative, but they also could choose not to, and they also had the same interactions with the other students inside this seminar as well. So nobody was excluded from the narrative if they don't want to engage in it. Yeah, so rounding this whole thing up, I asked the question in the beginning: is it a crime? And that was basically a question which was stated on a meta level for the student as well, because in the end, it was the question if it was a crime that the professor wasn't there, if it wasn't that he wasn't kidnapped. So in the end, they basically uncovered this kind of USB stick, and on it they had several video files on it where they could get all the backstory why the professor was missing, and they found out that basically Mr. Sepur and the professor is basically the same person, and this was a whole setup to get the police practitioners, the police recruits, to reflecting on hierarchy, status, and how they investigate crimes as well. Yeah, so all in all, this kind of concept we rated it quite positively. And yeah, what's up next? We now took it on a next level, which we are now evaluating. So there now has been some websites added where they can engage online with the content. We polished some assignments they had, especially in the basic studies, because in the last assignment was they should create a game for police recruits, and some of them, if they don't want to engage in this kind of gamified learning environment, they were like, how should I create a game? So it was a kind of far away from them. For few students, other ones enjoyed it as well. So we changed the assignment to that they should create some kind of reflect tool, we're calling it, that they should create kind of toolbox where police officers could reflect on their whole or on their own work. And if we see the discussions we had in 2020 around police work, there are a lot of things which is worth reflecting on, of course. And this basically provides a very good handle where they could tap into the content we have in psychology, and don't necessarily need to create a good game. But if they want to create a good game or something like this, it's still manageable to do so. So we polished the assignments a little bit, and let's see what this goes up to next. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mario. We have one question. I think we can do it live, as you are the last live talk. So Nora asked, did you compare test results of the students with test results of students that didn't have this gamification concept in class?
Yeah, that was the problem. No, we didn't, because the testing was very subjective due to the teacher. Me was basically interviewing not the suspects, the students. Yeah, it's kind of subjective. Although what we didn't do was basically that we split the teaching, and I did, let's say, seven classes, like a traditional pedagogical approach and this kind of gamified concept.